is the second to last day of February and I'm finally here with my January wrap up. Okay, so I did not finish a few of my January books. I want to say like 3 of them until mid-February. So this was a struggle. I'm very behind on filming because of it, so I still have a lot of stuff to get done, but I've been catching up on my Bookstagram. I've been using my blog. I made an Edelweiss account. Is that how you pronounce it? So it's been productive, but not necessarily in the ways that you would imagine that a booktuber should be productive. Also, you may notice that I'm in a different sitting position. I mentioned in the last video that I got a new dog and I adore him, but he adores my white chair, and so he has claimed it as his own, and it's also very noisy. So I'm trying just sitting not in front of my bookshelf in my noisy white chair today. And you guys can let me know if you hate it and you'd rather see me in front of my bookshelf, or if the quiet, not like noise is better. We'll see. We'll work with it. I will eventually find a new chair at a yard sale or something. In January, I managed to read 7 books, which honestly, none of them were the worst. So this has been a really good year so far, I think, for books, because I'm feeling pretty close to that with my February books as well, I think, right now. So that's been awesome. But this wrap up is for the Among Us Readathon, where I was the pink imposter, hence my pink pajama shirt that I'm going to change after this video. And I wanted to spotlight this really cute pink crewmate that my next door neighbor made me specifically for this readathon. So I don't think her name's Olivia, and I don't think that she will ever watch this. But if you are, Olivia, this is adorable. Thank you so much. Unfortunately, she's moving, so I don't think I'll get any more of these for future readathons, but now I just need to hire more children to make me cute stuffed animals. But yeah, so I really appreciate this. She even made like the little flower that I wear when I play Among Us. So that was amazing. But yeah, on to the books. Did I bring the book? I totally didn't bring a book. Okay, I brought the book and I brought my new puppy. This is Jack. He is part Labrador, part Shepherd, and he is a year old. His name is Jack Ryan Sawyer. Oh my goodness, he's so happy to be in this video. Can you lie down? Can you lie down? Yeah. Okay, so let's see if this works out. I know Caroline likes to be in videos. Oh no, he wants to leave. He's also in love with Caroline, like obsessively in love with her, which is why he's trying to escape right now. Okay, so the first book that I read was The Carnelian Fox by MacLeod. I received a free audiobook of this as a review copy, and I was told if I read that and reviewed it on my platforms that I would get the sequel. So I did review it. I found it to be 3 stars. It wasn't terrible. It was inspired by Pokemon, and it was kind of for like young adult version of Pokemon. And he's leaving. Okay. So I think the series itself is called Mayamon or something like that. So inspired by Pokemon, inspired by Digimon. It wasn't bad. I only really loved one of the main characters, and the ending for this main character was not what I liked. By the end of it, there was just a lot of like, I feel like it would have been a really good cartoon or show or something like that, but just kind of listening to detailed Pokemon battles essentially wasn't really my vibe. I don't feel like, well, it would have been a good graphic novel too, but I don't feel like people who didn't grow up with Pokemon or Digimon would care about this book. And so I did like 3 stars for me. Like that's a decent / good book. So, but I submitted my review and I don't have the sequel, or I never heard back. So hopefully I did not anger them, but I am gonna review it honestly. But anyways, moving on, I read The Library Book by Susan Orlean. This was a book that was chosen for me by my friend Nikoleta as one of her favorite books. This one was essentially like 2 stories. It was kind of telling like the history of libraries, especially in, I don't have this book on me because I borrowed it from the library as an ebook and a physical book. So I want to say Los Angeles. So it is telling the story of the library that burned down and kind of like about the suspect and his life and whether the author thinks that the suspect did it. And I did find that interesting. It was kind of like supposed to be a little thrilling or suspenseful at least. And then the second part is really telling like the history of how like libraries / that library came into being and the different phases that it had to get up to like present day when the book was published. So I gave it 3 stars because it was interesting. I really enjoyed the history part of it. I think if it was just the history part, I would have given it 4 to 4.5 stars. I really enjoyed it, but it really felt like watching a TV show about history where you only get like a brief episode about people and that's it. I would have wanted to learn more about the history side instead of just the little snippets like in between the present. I didn't understand the point of going so much in detail into the suspect's life to really get no closure at all in the end, that I'm kind of like, why did I learn so much about this person? And also, they were the worst and I hate them. And their pathological lying for an entire book really, really grinded my gears, so to speak. But, so I gave it 3 stars and Nikoleta gave it 5. So if you're wanting a kind of a more, I don't want to say objective because it's still 2 people's opinions, but more varied, I would say like an average between the 2 of us, then it's still a 4-star book. So I'm not dissuading anyone from reading it, but I don't think that it is the book for me. But I can definitely see why Nikoleta liked it because it was a very informative read and it was still interesting. And I would like to read more picks from her in the future. So yes, thank you, Nikoleta. The next one that I read was Avatar: The Last Airbender, The Promise, Part 1. So this is actually the start of the graphic novels other than the 0 one with Tahirah. It's very confusing. I read this as a buddy read with Amber and I think she just finished it a few days ago. I gave it 3 stars because it was really nice to see the characters again after the show. Everyone seemed true to character, so that was good. But I do not ship Aang and Tahirah, and there was a lot of that. There was a lot of like mushy scenes that I wouldn't have liked even if it was a ship that I enjoyed. They kept calling each other sweetie, and I think I may have literally thrown up in my mouth at one point when I was reading it. It was just, oh my god, they're tearing something apart. Okay, I'm back. Dogs are done destroying things and I got a new memory card. Why does this happen every wrap up? Like, the TBRs are fine. It's only the wrap ups. Okay, where was I? Avatar: The Last Airbender. It was okay. Amber also gave it 3 stars, so I feel like overall it was okay. I will read The Promise Part 2. I don't foresee myself reading it until April or until May. Those are the 3-star reads. After that, we are on to the 4 stars. We have Ignite Me by Tahereh and Mafi. Ignite Me was... it was great. I listened to it as an audiobook like the other 2. This is the 3rd book in the Shatter Me series, by the way. I finally got what I wanted and I had to work hard to get there. It was it was great. I would say that this was the book that I was the most like emotionally invested / emotionally involved in for the whole month, and that was really nice because a lot of the other books were just draining to get through. So I had a great time reading this. And you're probably like, well, if you loved it so much, Ashley, why didn't you give it 5 stars? I really liked the romance in this book. I loved it, okay? And I like how they ended, because it was obviously like a love triangle, but like the whole series is basically just a love triangle. But I like how they ended it between the like enemies in the love triangle. Like the 2 that weren't going for one another and the love triangle, if that makes sense. I kind of liked how it was ending. I can't remember the exact ending of this book, but I like what I think the ending was. The reason that I gave it 4 stars instead of 5 was, despite loving it, the plot itself, like with the actual war, was very, very shaky. Julia is like, what, 17? It was very illogical. Like the fact that we spent so much time ridiculing the last like war leaders and being like, oh, they're so inexperienced, they had no idea what they were doing, they were so naive. And you want me to believe that what happens in this book, I don't know why I'm holding up this notepad, sorry, I'm angered. You want me to believe that the solution that you found in this book is a better solution for someone who's experienced in war and politics and leadership or any kind of social skills? Oh my god. No, it was entirely unbelievable, which I've seen a lot like of people say that YA books having like teenagers be the main characters, it's always unbelievable, and I understand that, and normally I'm still like, oh, but it was really good. No, it was bad. So I did take a star away from that just because of that. If it were just a romance novel itself, then I'd be like, okay, 5 stars. But we do have to have some realism. So that was bad. And then I think this was the end of the trilogy, right? Like I know that there's more, but I don't know if there was supposed to be more. So if this was really just the ending, it wasn't an amazing ending, if that makes sense. But again, the romance, I loved it. Anyways, the next one that I read was The Echo Wife by Sarah Gailey. That one I got as an ARC from NetGalley, so thank you so much to both NetGalley and TorTeen for this book. I read it as an e-ARC, and it was, I'm trying to think of words to even describe this book. It was a sci-fi, which I'm not normally into, and it was kind of like a crime thriller slash suspense. None of the genres that this book was is something that I would typically be interested in, but when I have got to that in my book rotation, I never wanted to put it down because I had no idea what was happening for the entire book. And there was just this like suspense between all of the characters, and I could never tell, like, is this about to be a heated romance scene, or is this about to be a murder party? That's kind of the entire book for me in one sentence. I don't really know how else to explain it without spoiling it. Oh, I guess I can say like the basic plot. The basic plot is that there's like this brilliant scientist woman. She's very like cutthroat, down to business kind of person. She had a husband who was like her partner with cloning efforts and things like that, but she was very much like the leading partner in that group. He didn't very much put anything into the group. So he actually left her for a younger woman, but the younger woman, she finds out, is her own clone. So that was really intense. The ending was definitely, I feel like, not what you would expect the ending to be, but I kind of actually liked it. So I gave it 4 stars because I was emotionally invested, or at least I was invested in finishing the story. I didn't feel like it dragged, and I feel like I enjoyed it a lot for someone who doesn't typically read any of those genres. So I would definitely read something by Sarah Gailey again in the future. So yes, thank you. The next one that I read was Dark Fate Outcast by Autumn M. Birt. She gave this to me kind of like as a taste test, and if I liked it, then I would get to be on the launch team for the sequel, like the rest of the trilogy. So I thought this was a prequel, but it may have actually been book 1. I gave it 4 stars. I'm now halfway done with book 2 already. I will say book 1 seems, in my opinion, a lot better than book 2 so far. And I really enjoyed the characters. I didn't really understand so much where the plot was going, but I was like, well, it's the prequel, so. But I did like the characters. Even the antagonist, I was very interested in their lives. There was a lot of content warning, which I guess I should have expected because I think it's like in a dark adult fantasy genre. I didn't like how the book handled some things involving a content warning, which I will put in the description. So that I almost just gave it 3 stars for, but it was a fast read, and it's hard for me to decide how to rate things when it is fantasy, if that makes sense, because I know that there will be things that would be considered unrealistic or illogical, but I just personally didn't really like how it was handled. And yes, if it weren't for like really enjoying all of the characters, I feel like I would have given it like 3 stars or less. Yeah. Anyways, I should have put that as my first 4-star. That was so anticlimactic compared to my emotions in the other books. But those were the 6, and the final one, I really need to take this tag off. I didn't even realize. But the final one that I gave 5 stars to is Anne of Green Gables by L.M. Montgomery. I have always enjoyed every rendition that I have experienced of Anne of Green Gables, from the movies to the TV show to the YouTube vlog. God, was it Green Gables Fables? I was obsessed with that. So I expected to love this book and for it to be 5 stars. Which, fun fact, my mom's mom is, she really loved Anne of Green Gables. It was her favorite series. So my mom's middle name is actually Anne with an E. That's so cool. It was 5 stars. It was great. I loved reading all of it. I loved getting to see all of the characters. It was really interesting because there were some parts in the films that I remember clearly and I thought were like canon. And I can't even remember what they are right now, but they weren't in the book. And I was very surprised. Just kind of like how a little different it is. I would say this has been one of my favorite classics that I have read. Things in this book that do not translate to modern times, I would say, is that I think it was Marilla. She was very prejudiced. And that didn't seem to translate into anything that I remember for like the movies or the TV show or anything like that. So I didn't really enjoy Marilla a lot because like she was always saying like, oh, this food is barely even fit for the stable boy Jerry because he's French, or like just things like that. Like how when they first decided to adopt a child and they were going to get a son, how she, well, one, how she only thought boys were useful, but like we knew that already. But she was saying things like that it had to be like a pure Canadian and this boy couldn't be from any other country or anything like that because they had to know it would be a good boy or something. I can't remember entirely, but I remember being like, oh my god. But other than that, I did really enjoy it. Anne and Gilbert, I did really enjoy them. And again, like the ending for this book is not how I remembered ending like for that couple or that pairing at all. And I guess like they were very young in this book, so that does make sense. I definitely want to read the sequel. And yeah, I forgot to mention with Ignite Me, but I will continue the series because I have no idea what will happen in book 4. Like no idea. The ending was just not good, but I'm curious and I'm sure I feel like I'm gonna be disappointed, and I wish I had just stopped the series like midway through book 3 of Ignite Me. That would have been so much better. But yeah, so I will read that, and I think the next one is it Anne of Avonlea? Whatever it is, I think I already own it. But it was a really good month for January because I feel like the past few months I've had a lot that were like 2-star books. That was really refreshing. And again in February, I don't know that I have any 2-star reads in February so far, so that's awesome. So that's pretty much it because that is all that I read in January, and I am already 5 books in, I think, in February, so I'm finishing those up, and then I will be filming my February wrap up and my March TBR because I wanted to make sure I got my February books done because I have to transfer some of them over. Somebody reads because I suck. And I will be putting these videos kind of in a blog format as well, so that it's just kind of more accessible. And I think that is it. Thank you so much for listening to my rants about these books. And I would love to know what you guys have been reading lately as well, what your 5-star reads are so that I can check them out on Goodreads. Bye guys!